Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hello.
This week, we'll be discussing the horror science fiction classic Alien, starring Sigourney Weaver, Tom Skerritt, Harry Dean Stanton, Yaphet Kotto. It's an all-star cast. What do you...
Oh my God! I think it sounds like you're calling from the Nostromo. Actually, let me just throw that out there.
That's sad but true. Sad but true. What else can we say? Oh, go to our page on Facebook at the podcast that wouldn't die. Go to our page on Twitter at tpodcasttwdie. Don't
Send me an email.
Send us an email at the podcast that wouldn't die at gmail.com. So like, subscribe, share on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, whatever else. Wherever the
TikTok,
finest podcast.
MySpace.
Exactly. Friendster.
Friendster.
The usual. So, Aaron, give us the rundown. What is Alien about?
First of all, the reason we're doing Alien is because I have recently returned from the storming of Area 51, where I made it as far as Rachel, Nevada, but I didn't actually want to drive 10 miles on a dirt road in a Prius. So maybe that's for next year. So sadly, E.T., Cinnabite, or what are they called? What are these monsters called? Cinnabuns. Xenomorphs. The xenomorph is just going to have to sit and stew at Area 51 for another year. Maybe next year's the year we free him.
So you weren't scaling any fences or, rappelling down walls?
I went to Rachel, Nevada, which was the staging ground. Saw a lot of people dressed as aliens and cone heads, wearing aluminum foil hats, and I was like, this is better than Vegas, honestly. If I could have camped, I would have just stayed there. Much more interesting than the Palms in Las Vegas, which this week is going to get a scathing report on TripAdvisor. I'm so angry and dissatisfied.
What's the problem?
At a premium price. I went to stay at the Palms Hotel because I want to see this Damien Hirst, the treasures from the wreck of the Unbelievable, the giant demon with the bull that I missed in Venice when I was at the Biennale. And so they have it in this Club Chaos, this day. It's their main pool is also a day club and a nightclub outdoors. So they spent like $14 million to buy this sculpture and another sculpture. And I literally stayed at the Palm, canceled a better, cheaper hotel so I could be there to see all this art that they bought, only to discover on check-in that, oh yeah, that's all closed. We're building a dome for the demon. And I was like, what? I'm like, first of all, you just spent $640 million to snap this place up. And there are funky stains on the couches in my room, and the walls are peeling. Give me a break.
Don't ask no questions.
And the whole reason I'm even staying at your hotel, I can't even go out and take pictures of this damn thing. Every time I drank a $20 glass of rock gut wine at their crappy bar, the rage just build and build. So, Area 51, 2 thumbs up. Palms Hotel Las Vegas, 2 thumbs down and a middle finger.
They get the palm. I get you. Very upsetting.
But I'm telling you, I think this Area 51 thing is going to be a yearly thing. It was very small, but people were friendly. They're from all over the world. It was old, crazy hipsters and old, crazy hippies and young hipsters.
Lovely. Your kind of people. Not mine.
My kind of people. I could have just, all you had to do Kevin, is just sit there and watch the show. Better people watching than the Vega, I'll tell you that. So anyway, back to our movie, Alien. The reason I picked this was a very traumatic movie in my life. I saw it when I was 13. It was the first R-rated movie I'd ever seen. Previous to this, I had begged our parents to allow me to go see Young Frankenstein because I had to prove to them there was no violence and very little sex. I had to show them like a movie review to get permission to see a PG movie. So I was taken to go see this with Kevin and I think Tara. We were camping the summer before I went away to high school. Mother was at the campsite with, I believe, little baby Kevin. And
you went with
needed
Pat.
a break.
You didn't go with Kevin.
No. Little baby Kevin stayed home at the campsite.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mom needed a break, and so Dad rounded up the children and took us all to see Alien. So if I was 13, you were 3.
Yeah.
So Patrick would have been 12. Tara was like a 10 or 11.
Who knows?
Going to see this movie, and I remember thinking, this is so boring. I was going to lapse into the coma at the beginning, and then all of a sudden, it all took a left turn.
It changes.
One explosion, and you're like, but at first I was like, I'm going to kill myself. This is so slow. I'm going to die. 13-year-old Erin was not happy. And then she just ended up having nightmares for years afterwards.
Yeah.
So Alien is about like a mining ship that gets woken up out of a deep sleep because what they receive what they think is a distress call. Oh no, not a distress call. Warning, oops, too late. Monster melts face, gets on board, kills everybody. At the very end, Ripley pushes them out into space, saves the day. Or did she? So there's the whole movie right there. But now just imagine it just hot, perspiry, and super tense the whole time.
One thing I found fascinating is that in the future on spaceships, there has to be at least one room with just random chains hanging from the ceiling and water drizzling the entire time.
Where's this water coming from? Is this alien urine? They're in space, so is there a window open? And is it raining in space? I actually read, and it made everybody knew this made no sense. But Ridley Scott felt that they needed like a pause in the tension, so he kept it in.
Because you're right.
People we're like, what? What? There's a room of chains? What the hell is this?
Right. Is there a leak? I mean, do we call a plumber? I mean, we're out in deep space. We only have so much water. So it probably wouldn't be a good idea to let it just run wild for God knows how long. But anywho.
And stand underneath it with your mouth open? What the hell is that? No.
Poor old Harry Dean is like literally putting his head under this leaking water. It could be raw sewage for all he knows. Very upsetting.
It could be alien, who knows what, man. Yeah. Oh.
It's a bad situation.
Oh my God. I started deep diving this movie and it made it even more uncomfortable and more confusing and disturbing. Don't start deep diving Alien and Mr. Geiger. Oh.
No.
Memories came racing back to me.
Well, that was the thing. It was basically like they used the artwork of this crazy artist, H.R. Geiger, to kind of guide them into what the aliens were going to look like, into like the settings on the planet. It was like they were walking through like the whale's stomach in Pinocchio or something. You see like weird.
Yes.
It was, yeah.
He did so much stuff around this time. He was hugely popular. I used to read this sci-fi magazine called Omni Magazine.
Yeah.
And he did so much illustration for it. He like creates this ancient future is what it looks like to me. It's like the ancient future. But then if you start deep diving, it's all like monsters, sex, and death.
Right.
That's what it is.
It's not a pretty picture.
It starts getting very uncomfortable.
Very quickly.
After a while.
Very quickly.
The original sketch that they based the monster on basically has the creature's head look like a big dong. It's like a dong. I sent you that picture yesterday after I found it. I remember watching a documentary on this dude a couple of years ago, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I will not be watching that. No
You
thanks.
could take a hard pass on that. It was enough. It's enough.
Now, one thing that was interesting is originally it was called Star Beast, which is not a good title of a movie.
No.
And what I found particularly interesting is that none of the characters had a gender in the script at all.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That frees you for your casting. You can put anybody. No one has a race. No one has a gender.
Right.
Put the best people in.
Absolutely. And I guess at one point Meryl Streep was up for Ripley. That would be a very different
saw
movie.
that.
That's crazy.
I mean, she's a fine actress, but Sigourney Weaver looks like she was 12 years old in this movie. She looks so young.
This is the movie that put her on the map. I mean,
I believe it.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it's interesting because it's like up to this point, it's like the last girl in a horror movie is kind of a damsel in distress, but she's very much the take charge kind of character.
She is not a damsel in distress. She's very intelligent.
Right.
She's very proactive. There's some allusion to her and Dallas having some kind of a relationship,
right.
which I guess was true in an earlier edit. That they're supposed to have been in a relationship, but it's very subtle. You can just tell, like, there's a glance or two, and they're like, huh.
Well, from what I understood is an early script had this kind of a Logan's Run kind of situation, where it's just people are very casual, like, oh, yeah, I'm hooking up with this dude over here. I'm hooking up with this girl over there. It's all good in the hood.
So it's a college dorm? Is that what you're saying? It's free and dorm. Easy? But in space, no one gets chlamydia? Is that what it is?
As far as we know. But that was supposed to be some foreshadowing, because evidently there was supposed to be some scene with Lambert and Ripley talking about how, have you ever had sex with Ash? No. What's up with that? How come he doesn't seem to be interested? Kind of thing. So, interesting.
How is that?
That's a good question.
Is that a little foreshadowing there? But it could be, I don't know if you remember, without giving away too much. Who cares?
Right.
Ash is an android, you find out later.
Yeah.
So, but in Star Trek Next Generation, they did hook it up. At one point, Data did have a sexual relationship. Just want to put that out there. He had a girlfriend. He was totally devoid of any emotion, but he could function from a mechanical sense. How's that?
Oh, Lord.
I used to love Next Generation, so don't even mess with me.
What is it? We're all androids and the lights go out? Is that? I don't even know. I
hope not. That sounds very. Do you put the metronome on? Tick tock, tick tock. The Geiger has infected our brains.
Yeah, exactly. It's already starting.
I have just the weirdest notes from this movie that I'm going to share with you. So
I do as well.
I wrote down 3 life lessons that apply to everything, movies, and just life. That's why it's a life lesson.
Okay.
Always follow medical protocol.
Yes.
Don't trust corporations.
That's true.
And don't trust robots.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I look at my Roomba side eye sometimes, frankly. You know what I'm saying?
I know the cat won't go by it, and they're a good judge of characters. So there's obviously something going on there.
There's a lot of stuff like that in this. One thing I thought was interesting is that people in the future still just chain smoke. So I just sitting there. Yeah, we have limited air supply, but I'm just gonna be sitting here lighting up my rolling cigarettes for 20 minutes with Harry Dean Stanton. So. Well,
I always wonder, like, when they go into like stasis, do they just rebuild them? I always wonder, like in the Star Trek, when they transported you, can they just leave the cancer behind? Like you disappear, but a tumor flops down on the ground.
I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works. But interesting.
Maybe they should do that.
I have to say that I've seen all of these alien movies, and I found the physiology of the alien, particularly how they reproduce, thoroughly bizarre and nonsensical.
Yeah.
So, okay. There is.
How about how it goes from being 1 foot tall to 17 feet tall in like an hour?
That's
Simply
the next thing.
one shedding of one skin. Now suddenly I'm 15 feet tall and 900 pounds.
Okay, well let's break this down. So in the next movie we learn there's like a queen who lays the eggs.
Right.
Okay, so there's a big queen that lays the eggs. Fine, makes sense. You lean over the egg and the face hugger jumps out and sticks on your face.
Yes.
And then that thing implants something in your chest.
Right. It's a parasite.
Organism.
It's like a parasite.
Right.
It lays the egg. It lays the egg. The egg hatches, leaps out of your chest.
Right. So So the face hugger implants something in your chest. The chest burster pops out of your chest, and that becomes the alien we know. Okay. So there's an egg where a creature jumps out and lands and impregnates another egg. It just seems kind of a redundant system here, right?
I think I lost you there. So it's like a parasite. But you're right. It goes from egg. You're right. It goes from egg to egg, and then it pupates. It seems like, I mean, when they pull the skin, like a snake skin, out.
Yes.
It wasn't shredded. I mean, if something was going to grow that big in an hour, you think this thing would be shredded like the Hulk, after he was no longer Bill Bixby, where it was just everything was in tatters.
It's hopeless.
It's one of those things where you're just like, that's interesting. Yeah, it makes no sense. It makes no sense.
You can't dig too deeply in this, but you're right. So the little critter pops out of his chest, which is clearly like a crazy hand puppet.
Oh,
right?
On a stick. It's like one of those things on a stick.
Yep.
And its mouth goes up and down, but it's got like a grill, like a 90s rapper.
Yes, it does. Silver teeth or something. And it kind of wiggles away like a tadpole.
Oh,
and then you're right. Then they find like the skin, like it's a snake that's molted, and then now there's a 9-foot alien running around.
And it's not. It's taller than like 9 foot. I swear to you. Well, it's hard to tell. I know the actor was about 7 feet.
Right.
But it's Hollywood, so I'm assuming all these actors are 5'7" with cowboy boots on.
Right.
But
exactly. But okay, so one more rule to add: if you see an alien egg, do not just put your face over the egg when it opens. I think that's good.
That just seems like a common sense thing. Is that a snake? Let me put my face up against it and see if it's a rattler.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Not doing it.
As soon as I saw that mist where it looked like a laser, and I would not be putting my hand down in there. None of that stuff. They broke every rule of Star Trek. I don't know what they're doing.
Don't they know? Well, they said it was like basically they took the lasers and the mist from The Who. The Who were filming a video or something in that same. So they stole that from The Who. So there you go. Good times.
Oh my God! Let me go back to some of this Geiger stuff because this movie is much more creepy and sinister than you think.
Please.
So basically, the whole face hugger. This is male rape. Did you read that? That this is male rape.
Yeah.
So this is a female creature assaulting a man through the mouth and impregnating him against his will.
Yes. Poor old John Hurt.
Oh, poor old John Hurt, man.
Yep.
That's why he became the elephant, man. That's all that was left. That's what caused it. It's a rare form of space herpes.
It'll do it every time.
But I was like, this is between Geiger, reading about Geiger and reading about male rape. It's like, it's more disturbing by the minute.
It gets worse.
I'm gonna have a cigarette in a minute if I have to keep reading about this. I gotta get off the internet. I gotta stop looking this stuff up.
But you're right. You're right when it's like, so Tom Skerritt and what's her name, Veronica Cartwright, are dragging John Hurt's body back onto the ship. Yeah. And he's like, let us in, let us in. And Ripley, who's in charge now, is like, I can't let you in because we have to follow the science
And he's protocol. The captain.
Right. He throws the rules. Tom Skerritt throws the rules out willy-nilly, however he feels, basically. Yeah. There's a lot of that going on. It's like, let us in, Ripley. That's an order. Damn it. So that's my Tom Skerritt impression, by the way.
Yeah. And then stupid Bilbo Baggins lets him come right in. Roll on in.
That's right. Ash, the who we learn is a sinister android, which, again, this is another kind of clue. He's by the book at all times, but suddenly they oh, no, we don't need to follow the rules of infestation. Come on in. Come right in.
Does not compute. Oh, it's very HAL 9000. It's very HAL.
Yeah.
It's some homage to Kubrick. It all goes back to him somehow.
It does. But, I mean, if you watch this movie, I mean, this was made in 1979 or whatever.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's still solid, for sure.
It holds up. I mean, the effects hold up.
It ain't no Logan's Run.
Oh, hell.
And what year did Logan's Run come out?
Like a couple of years.
2 years before? 3 years before?
Yes. I think like 2 years. It's like night and day. It is literally night and day.
It's because, you know what? They keep it simple. It's dark. It's wet. It's creepy. The Geiger stuff, no matter how weird he is pretty impressive.
It is. Well, again, they don't let you get a good long look at it. It's a lot of darkness. Whereas Logan's Run, it's like broad daylight, crazy Lego miniatures.
And disco.
Yeah. There's a lot of disco. Although I'll tell you what, Sigourney Weaver was wearing those crazy 70s underpants that were very offensive to me.
Oh, my God. Those are barely hanging on you. Nothing like underpants where your whole crack hangs out. What's the point?
That was the style back in 1979. Very upsetting.
And did you notice that, like, so many of their weird outfits, like John Hurt's hospital outfit, it's all this lacing and corseting, the back of their uniforms. Yeah. It's oh, my God. My cat is chewing my notebook. Dude, be cool.
I don't blame him.
There's all kinds of interesting. And then she's wearing, like, Converse high tops. So
I saw that.
In space. No one can hear your Converse.
Yeah. That was the thing. When you're, 500 years in the future, they're still wearing Converse high tops. Hey,
still solid.
Still solid.
Some weird stuff, like, why is Ash trying to kill her with a rolled up newspaper in the mouth? First of all, that ain't going to work.
Right.
That ain't going to work. I mean, it sounds really painful. How is that going to suffocate her? That was nonsense. You're a robot.
He was trying to smother her, right?
Yes, he was he rolled up a magazine and tried to, like, stick it in her mouth. Come on.
It was an adult magazine, by the way. Yes. You don't want that anywhere near your mouth.
Was it a political commentary? We will not have this smut. Geiger's gone too far.
It was a bizarre choice. It was a bizarre choice, to say the least. But luckily, Yaphet Kotto arrived. But you see that Ash is, like, super strong. Like, he didn't have to do this weird thing with the...
Why didn't he just do it all? It reminded me of the Dead Zone when the deputy they figure out he's the one killing the girls, and he commits suicide by throwing himself at scissors.
Oh, God, that was awful. I remember
that. That was so awful. Yeah. That was so awful.
Not a good scene.
Overly complicated.
I agree. So the critter is now running around, and they're like, okay, we got to get this thing. Tom Skerritt's going to go into the air ducts to get at him, right? And Ash rigs up some motion detector. And I have to say, the motion detectors, they just blow.
Terrible.
They're worthless.
Terrible.
It's like, I don't know if he's coming. It's like, oh, get out of there. He's coming right at you. Okay, give me a hint. From my left, from my right, behind me, above me, below me, nothing. You can't tell me anything.
It doesn't know which deck you're on, what level. And because of that, ciao, arrivederci,
It
Dallas.
was bye. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, they were looking at that thing,
and
and it was basically like watching somebody play Pac-Man or something. It was like little dots. Boop,
no, it was
boop,
Pong.
boop.
It was Pong. It was like, yeah, boop, boop. Oh, here comes the ghost. Boop, 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 boop.
Right. It was. It's like, wait a minute, should I go up or down? Give me a hint here. Throw me a friggin' bone
we got
here.
nothing for you.
Sorry.
We got nothing for you.
Good luck with that. So, very upsetting. Tom Skerritt dies. One thing I noticed, I realized about halfway through that I was watching the director's cut of Alien. And
I read that there is no director's cut. He feels his best cut is the original. Right. That he just bowed to more money and added a bunch of deleted scenes that fans wanted to see. But he believes the director's cut is the original.
I agree.
I don't know what I watched. My son has like 5 of them.
Well, I'll tell you, there's one scene that I had never seen before, which comes towards the end. So we know Harry Dean Stanton gets dragged off and Tom Skerritt gets dragged off. There's a weird scene towards the end of the movie when they're about to blow up the ship. She stumbles upon this room where Tom Skerritt and Harry Dean Stanton are like stuck to the walls, like I don't know, like a spider's web kind of thing. Have you seen the other Aliens?
Oh yeah.
It's like that typical aliens, like we've been abducted and now we're all stuck in slime.
Yeah. And we're being stored for future.
Right. So that was kind of interesting. Harry Dean is long since dead and gross, and Tom Skerritt goes, "Kill me!" So she burns him with the flamethrower. So it was a weird.
How about if I just take you down, dude? How about that? Why don't I get my box cutter and just, you get your asses down here and help me.
Right, exactly. He's a little quick on the draw with that. Oh, just kill me. Forget it. Like, well, I could try
It's not worth it. I'm tired. Leave me alone. Burn me to death.
I could try to free you. No, not so much. Okay, let me get my flamethrower out. That'll take care of it easy. Very upsetting.
That'll take too long. Just kill me.
Now,
oh my God.
I also realized that, so John Hurt, earlier in the movie, the face hugger falls off his face, and they realize, oh, he's okay. And they're about to go back into the cryo, whatever.
Why wouldn't they check? First of all, the big tube thing is missing.
Yes.
Why wouldn't they put him through the scanner again?
Yeah, I was wondering
that. He's like, I'm a little congested. That's it. Otherwise, come on down. That's cool.
It was exactly right. First step is, so we can't do any tests? No, we're good? Okay. Moving on. But what I realized, if they had just gone straight to the hypersleep or whatever, then they make it home and there's no problems. I mean, then when they get home, then they've got an alien to deal with.
Running around the earth. They should have frozen him immediately.
Right. That's what Parker was saying. Yaphet Kotto was constantly like, well, hey, man, why don't we just freeze him? Can't we just freeze him?
I love how the mechanic guy knows what we should do, but the science officers and the captain were like,
But we know.
Let's go play with this acid blood some more.
Well, that's the thing. The science officer is the android who has his own reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you think he would be like, yeah, we should just freeze him too, because he just wants to get him back.
Absolutely. That was the whole point, was to bring it back into one piece.
He wasn't actively trying to kill anybody. It was more like, we don't care if they live or die. Whatever it takes to get the alien back.
Because the orders are crew is expendable.
Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to actively try to kill you for no reason. It just means if you have to die so I can bring the alien back, then that's what I'll do. But whatever.
Right. But he was kind of a dick. Nobody really liked him anyway.
He was a weirdo. Bilbo Baggins, up to his old tricks.
Bilbo Baggins. And don't you find it creepy? They always have androids have like white blood.
Yes.
I always find that
like
super
milk
creepy.
Or something. Yeah, it's upsetting.
It was like milk, and then his insides were like tubes and glass Christmas balls or something. With like some real intestines mixed in.
Exactly. They did a lot of that. A lot of the gore and viscera was literally just animal guts. So when his chest explodes, it's literally sending like animal viscera all over people. So Lambert, she gets hosed down.
They were not prepared for that.
No, their reactions are genuine, to say the least.
Oh my God. And the face hugger, I looked at that as they're exploding. It looks like a horseshoe crab. Yeah. And then they start poking around. Then I realized it looks like a combination of a vagina and oysters. So I had to Google it. And in fact, it was oysters and weird other shellfish. Yeah. And that's what made the face hugger.
Yeah, lovely.
It was very vag.
Lovely, to say the least. One thing...
You got like 3 kids. Don't be shy.
We don't talk about this stuff. I don't want to... Keep me out of it. Let me ask you this. I realize this. We take for granted that in every science fiction movie, there's a self-destruct mechanism. Is that just a thing that we just accept that occurs in the future? Because it's not like I can be like, oh, but I better blow up my car so that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands, right?
Do you think that like the spacecraft at like Area 51, do all our current things have self-destruct so the technology doesn't fall into the hands of other people?
If you're on the space shuttle.
Well, apparently not. The Iranians shot down that $100 million drone.
Yeah. Right.
I don't see it self-destruct.
If you're on the space shuttle, is there something you can do where it's like, let me flip this switch and turn this gear that will, like, it's like you have 10 seconds and then the space shuttle will self-destruct? Or is that just some baloney from these science fiction movies that somewhere along the lines we've accepted as fact? That's my question. You know what I mean?
That is an interesting question. And I wonder, I mean, we've definitely had technology that's been shot out of the sky that didn't burst into flames. Is this all James Bond and Star Trek? I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. It goes on with the cyanide capsule and your false tooth in the back. You know, you bite down on that, and then you can't give away the secret.
And I love it's like you have 5 minutes to deactivate this, and so she gets in there with like 30 seconds to spare. But sadly, it takes 4 minutes to try to deactivate it. So sorry. Good luck.
I know. You have 45 minutes until self-destruct. I mean, it was ridiculous. And because why? And then she leaves every door open. And so,
very upsetting.
And frankly, I think the last 2 people died because she's running around looking for that damn cat.
Oh, did you see that?
I love my cat, but if it doesn't have the sense to figure out that we're all going to die, then it needs to just blow up.
Well, and you see that carrier that the cat's in is constantly getting kicked around and knocked around. So that thing's been turned to kitty pate a long time ago. Good luck.
Fascinating. How about in one point they are looking for the creature and they open a cabinet and the cat jumps out. So how did the cat get into the closed locker?
That's a good question. These are important questions.
Explain.
Yeah.
And there's another flaw that I see. So the alien is like a shark. It just lives to feed and breed. Yeah. That's what we're led to believe. Yep. But literally, it goes down, looks at the cat, figures out what's going on, and goes and hides in the ship. Yeah. The escape pod.
Yeah.
So what is it? Is it intelligent, or is it just feeding and breeding?
It's hard to know what it really wanted because you didn't really catch it like literally eating anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You saw it killing people.
Right. It killed people and then disappeared. So who knows?
And they disappeared.
Right. It's all very confusing and bizarre. Truly.
And you think after 25 movies there'd be some clarity, but there seems to be not a consensus.
Well, you get this from the other movies. And again, there was Alien, there was Aliens. There was Alien to the Third Power.
I saw Prometheus.
Well, there was Alien Resurrection before that. Then there was Prometheus, which is not considered a prequel or a sequel. It just kind of exists in the same universe, however.
It's another one of these, like the Marvel
Right.
universe. My son tries to explain
Damon
this nonsense
Lindelof
to me.
is the writer behind this. You might remember him from Lost and the what was that movie? Where everybody disappears. What's that show called? Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's another show. Another show where there's no answers and it's all bizarro. Then
it's the reverse of Lost. People just disappear. Found.
It's called Found. Then there was Alien Covenant. Was the last one that came
Left
out.
Behind. Was it the Left Behind Jesus
The Leftovers.
series?
The Leftovers is what it was called. It was. I'm not making that up. That's what it was really called. But it was where it's like, here's bizarre mythology that we don't explain, and we only give you half of it. So that's standard operating procedure. So from what we understand is that they're kind of like ants or bees or something, right? Where there's like a hive queen, and these guys we see running around are kind of like the drones. So they don't actually.
Right. I mean, this spawned all kinds of stuff. The Borg with the collective and all of this.
Oh yeah. So theoretically, these guys don't do anything except grab people and then bring them to the queen, I guess, so that they can lay the egg in front of it. Facehugger can stick on them, and then eventually an alien will pop out of their chest, I believe.
Right.
So take that with a grain of salt. Sigourney was in the four of these, though, the first four. She wasn't in the other ones, if I'm not horribly mistaken.
Prometheus was Charles Dance was in that one, right? He was in one of those.
Michael Fassbender was in the last two. Idris Elba and Charlize Theron and a few other people were in Prometheus. And I'm trying to remember.
Charles Dance, remember, is Tywin Lannister. We got to go Game of Thrones. I hope so. I was about ready to be upset when you didn't immediately perk up to the
I don't remember seeing him in any of them, but take that with a grain of salt.
And then what did I read that Vin Diesel movie Pitch Black was actually supposed to be Alien 3. It was an alternative script for Alien 3, and it became Pitch Black.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Which I thought was pretty good, which eventually then became that other Vin Diesel
movie. Chronicles of
the
Riddick.
Second one.
There was Riddick.
The Chronicles of Riddick.
All those things. I'll tell you what, Pitch Black is not bad. Pitch Black is not bad
It's not bad.
But in the creatures, now that you mention it, it looked very much like aliens. So there you have it.
And same with Riddick. It's that spine. It's like an exoskeleton armor with the spine and all that. They're trying to do like a Coke Zero Geiger on that. Just not as much taste, not as much sugar.
How dare you? How dare you? So she gets the creature follows her onto the escape pod, right?
Right.
And I'll tell you what, if you're paying attention, there are scenes where the alien is hiding in plain sight, but it's so dark that you might miss it. There's a couple of those scenes where it's like the moment you notice him, then you notice him everywhere, basically. So be aware.
It is kind of interesting. But I hadn't seen this in a while because it's too disturbing. But when she got into the space shuttle or the capsule or whatever it is, I saw the alien head and I was like, oh yeah.
He's chilling right there, waiting on her.
He's chilling in plain sight.
But it's a good thing that she had a spear gun with her.
Well, in space, you never know. Maybe she was a scout. Yeah, I don't know why
in the hell would somebody need a spear gun in space in this scenario? I guess they're miners. There are a lot of spearing things in the mine.
And once again, the thing bleeds acid.
Yeah, so you can't mess with it.
So, you okay? I got it. You got it near the entrance, so I'm going to skewer it. Well, it's immediately dripping acid that is now punching a hole through your escape capsule.
Yeah. Well,
but it didn't. Right.
It's a good question.
Whereas before you nick it, and it produces enough acid to go 12 decks down.
This is all very complicated. I'm not sure how it works, but you're right.
My last flaw. All right. She depressurizes it, but the thing is wedged in there. Eventually, it tumbles out. She opens the door. It expels. She shoots it with the spear gun, and away he goes into space. Doesn't blow up. Doesn't depressurize. So it's just floating around.
No. Remember, he's kind of still attached to the ship. And he falls down into like one of the rockets or something. And so she turns to the
it starts drifting back up into it. But I don't remember it getting damaged. Did it blow up?
He gets,
or did it just get expelled?
No, it gets burnt up in the, whatever it is, the jet or the rocket. Or
yeah, because it looked like it was heading back in.
It's ball game. It's no longer with us. So...
And then she's literally, and meanwhile... the ship's exploding with the force of 10,000 suns exploding all at the same time. She's merely, 100 yards away, blinded. Why isn't she bubbled up like she was at Chernobyl or something? She was 2 feet away from the 25 nuclear explosions. Yeah. And all you have to do really is squint a little bit because the light's bright.
Should be okay. Well, you should be okay.
It's okay. Just walk it off. Walk it off. Walk the radiation off.
Wah, 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 wah. So, good time. She survives. We have a lot of questions about this movie, but I would venture this movie's great. This movie is great.
I will tell you.
Lay it on.
Ridley Scott has done a lot of shitty movies.
Okay.
But he has done 2 really good ones. This... and my personal favorite, Blade Runner.
Oh, jeez.
And which we'll be reviewing. In fact, I'm listening to a different Philip K. Dick story right now, but I couldn't. I'm too cheap to read. I'm too cheap with my time to read the book, but eventually I will read the book. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is what Blade Runner's based about. I literally went through the Ridley Scott catalog. And yeah, that's what I came up. These 2 movies. The rest of them he could have stayed home.
Unpopular opinion alert.
Do you disagree?
Unpopular opinion alert. I found Blade Runner boring as hell. So we can still do it because I'm just that kind of guy.
Dear
but
now, is it because you watched that stupid director's cut?
Yes, I think. Well, because the original theatrical version has a voiceover, like it's kind of a. Humphrey Bogart, kind of Sam Spade, kind of.
It's noir. It's noir.
The director's cut does not have the voiceover, so maybe that's the difference. But I found it boring.
No, I am hardcore Blade Runner. I found it a religious experience, and I did not care for. Other people will argue, Why you gotta hate on more beauty, more cinematography?
Whatever.
I'm like, yes.
We can definitely talk about that and see how we want to do it. So there you have it. Any last thoughts?
Oh my God, we're totally gonna do it. Hopefully, we'll do it after I read the book, so we can do some comparison. Because right now I'm listening to Man in the High Castle, which is clearly different than the series.
So good times.
We need to discuss the cast.
Okay.
Veronica Cartwright
is Lambert.
Oh my God,
whining and annoying as ever.
She is always, because she's little Kathy from The Birds. That was so exciting to me.
Oh yeah.
Whiny and crying in The Birds. She was also Felicia in The Witches of Eastwick. Whiny, crying, vomiting cherry pits. So.
I think
she goes with her strength.
She was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 70s version, whining and complaining.
She's in 900,000 movies and is still producing.
She's great.
Them.
If you like whining and annoying.
But I was very excited when I saw that she was in The Birds. Ash is Bilbo Baggins.
Ian Holm is his Christian name. So yeah.
Yeah. And then, what's his name? Harry Dean Stanton.
Brett. You remember him from Pretty in Pink, etc., etc.
What is Paris? What is it? Paris, Texas.
Red Dawn.
He's the king of Indies.
Yeah.
He's the king of Indies. He's done everything. He always looks like your alcoholic father or uncle.
Yes.
And what's his name?
Yaphet Kotto
Yufet.
was Parker.
From my favorite James Bond, he was Mr. Katanga
That's
from Live
absolutely
and Let
right.
Die.
He's great.
I always remember Mr. Katanga. I'm probably saying it wrong,
Kananga.
but and that is really Kananga, and that is really the only good non-Sean Connery.
Well,
one.
he was also he was.
I'm Sean Connery. I'm a Sean Connery friend.
It's all Roger Moore all the way.
Okay, because it's camp,
totally
man.
Camp.
You're camp.
But you also have to remember Yaphet Kotto was Agent Alonzo Mosley, FBI, in Midnight Run. If you haven't seen that, drop what you're doing.
Oh, and he was on Homicide, Life on the Streets. I used to love that show.
Well,
and they canceled it and just brought half those actors and throw them on Law and Order.
NYPD Blue. They don't throw them on a Law and Order. They throw them in NYPD Blue.
Him, but most of the other actors went to Law and Order. Just like look it up, friend, because they used to do these crossovers. First of all, because I never watched NYPD Blue. The same thing with Oz. When Oz was over, they scooped all the actors from Oz and also put them on Law and Order.
Lovely.
You oh my God,
okay.
Brother Bear. I don't even know why you argue with me. Oh, and one last disgusting detail. All the slime is KY jelly. It all goes back. This is darkly sinister and sexual. It all circles back around.
Okay, who else is in the cast since we're talking about this? No.
That's it. That's all I care
about. From Top Gun. Yes.
Who's in everything? He was in
Viper. He was the mentor to Maverick and Goose.
No, what I remember him from is that same movie that we were talking about, The Dead Zone. Yeah, he was the sheriff.
He's always the kindly sheriff.
I'm surprised they haven't remade The Dead Zone in this Trumpian
they made a TV
era.
series with Anthony Michael Hall. That doesn't really count, though.
Is that Anthony Michael Hall is playing?
No, he's playing Christopher Walken.
You're right. I never watched that. Oh my God, Christopher Walken never looked so good. I remember being on the cover of Cosmopolitan magazine. It was that he was not good looking in Deer Hunter, and he was not good looking after this, but he made the cover of like Cosmo or People, the thinking woman sex symbol, all because of The Dead Zone. One of the best adaptations of a Stephen King novel.
Who else is in this? John Hurt was the Elephant Man.
John Hurt.
Well, recently he was in those Harry Potter movies as the guy who gives him the wand. I'm trying to think what else he was in. I don't remember.
I think he's like, they're all sirs. They've all been knighted. All the Brits in this have been knighted.
Is that everybody? Sigourney Weaver obviously went on to
Sigourney Weaver,
Girl, etc., etc. She's still in stuff though. I see her in stuff all the time now. It's crazy. She was in Cabin in the Woods recently. She was, good stuff.
Oh my Lord.
Anyway, anything else? We're running a little long.
Let me think about this.
Wrap it up.
No such thing. It's good. It's very tense.
I think it's scary. I do. I think it's scary.
It is scary, and it traumatized me in my childhood.
She was never the
same. Sensitive child. I had no idea what horrible movie my father was taking me to, and I have not fully recovered. And before we sign up, we've been watching like 2 horror movies a week, plus American Horror Stories on now. Is it affecting your sleep in any way?
I mean, my sleep is always crazy. The weird dreams. The
screaming.
Exactly.
The running.
Pretty standard.
Are you watching American Horror Story? Because it is Friday the 13th.
Is it on Hulu?
It is Halloween. Do you watch that?
It's not on Hulu. I'm out. I'm a cord cutter.
Brother Bear. Oh my God, no!
that's
It's
not
on
gonna work for me.
FX. But it's 1984, so it's jazzercise. Every 80s slasher movie, all rolled up. They're all at Camp
Perfect.
Blood. They're all camp counselors. Oh, it is
Well, I'll
delightful.
have to check it out then. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, I guess in a year and a half when it's finally on Hulu.
Good times. Thank you for joining us. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die, on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Email us at thepodcastthatwouldn'tdie@gmail.com.
Email.
I'm venturing to guess to the negative.
Yeah. We got this one email from Google welcoming us for creating an email account.
We'll take that. Like, share, subscribe on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc., etc. And I think that's everything. So thank you very much.
Until next time.